this Black Friday, you can sleep in.
All over the region. Retailers are calling this their super 149,000 stores offering
millions
sales
of dollars
in the
cash sales changing hands starting on
New York. Hit the stores. The flu season is off to its earliest
Appears to be a previously unknown variant of the flu, suspected case catching many experts off guard.
Today I was feeling like maybe
Back on the breaking news, leading with unconfirmed reports of a smallpox
outbreak is a highly rehearsed scenario.
And National Guard units converging on a hospital in central
bridges are closed. It's a war zone.
Smallpox is a very real
More deaths
danger.
than AIDS, more than Ebola.
Let me stop you there. This is not a panic situation.
An entire American city is
known
locked
as
down.
green poison. Central Park has been converted to a mass burial ground.
Power outages, gas line leaks, fires. The government's
We're expecting another night of widespread looting.
People of New York are begging for
our first responders are either dead
no resources available.
treated like animals.
It's not a job. We're not trained for that.
In 2001, a real-world exercise tested the emergency response to a bioterror attack on the continental United States. The operation was called Dark Winter. Within just a few days, the simulation spiraled out of control. The operation predicted a rapid breakdown in essential institutions, civil disorder, and massive civilian casualties. Dark Winter has revealed how vulnerable we've become. Our lifestyle, our security, our safety depends on a delicate and unstable economy. We've created a system so complicated that we no longer understand how to control it. Oil, power, shipping, transport. We live in a complex world. And the more complex it gets, the more fragile it becomes. The system is built on a global supply chain that gets things where they're needed, just in time. We've created a house of cards. Remove just one, and everything falls apart. And what's fueling this system?
Money. Americans can spend $90 billion in a single day of shopping. Last year, 200 million people swarmed their local stores on November 23rd. We call that day Black Friday. Did you know that a flu virus can survive on the surface of a banknote for up to 17 days? One day there will be a pandemic. It could begin during the crush of Black Friday sales. A pathogen will jump from tainted banknotes to human skin, onto food, toys, children, and loved ones. By the time patient zero feels the first sore throat, millions of people will already be infected. From this point, the breakdown will happen fast.
Day 1, hospitals will reach capacity. Panic will strike. Day 2, quarantine zones will be established. Resources will be rationed. Transport will go into lockdown. Day 3, international trade will stop. The oil will dry up. The stock market will collapse. Day 4, the power will fail. The shelves will be empty. The taps will run dry. And once hunger and despair take hold, people will do anything for survival. By day 5, everyone will be a potential threat.
In 2007, a new presidential directive was signed quietly into law. This maps out the government's response to a crisis, a plan to cope with a real dark winter. It is known as Directive 51. There are rumors of shadow agencies, sleeper cells, covert agents, but nothing can be confirmed.
Our complex world is primed for breakdown.
And once the chaos strikes,
there won't be resources to save us all.
The only question left is, what will it take to save what remains?
They said it was just the flu. But it turned out to be something else entirely. We followed our orders. Isolate the sick in a quarantine zone in the middle of Manhattan and stop the contagion from spreading. We started to lose count of casualties. We built a wall to contain the sick. But we lost control of the situation. And that's when the power went out. Rioting, looting, chaos. They ordered us to pull out all troops within a few hours. We left everything behind, in a zone saturated with contamination. We left our best equipment, our most powerful weapons, and the only hope for a cure. Few dared go over the wall. And fewer still come out. We call this place the Dark Zone.
It's hard to watch something you love destroy itself, to see it fall apart. Disaster always feels so distant, detached. Someone else's struggle in some faraway place. It's not until it's in our city, at our doors, that we realize how fragile we are. All of us. All of this.
No, baby, Steven. I'm here. Mommy's right here.
Please. Sarah.
And when it hit, when it came down hard. And we fell. We buried ourselves in anger, fear, and the instinct to survive.
I'm sorry, Sarah. I'm just not strong enough.
Where's the drive, son? Please no more.
And the real truth is, no one watched. No one saw, wanted to see.
Where you going?
Tragedy is invisible. People turn away from it and run from it if they can. And it's hard knowing that you belong here. That your purpose lies amongst all this pain. But someone's gotta be there to pick it up, to push back. But the first piece back together put us all back together.
Our city started to collapse. The dark side of humanity took control of the streets.
This city fell apart. It's crazy out here. Every man for himself. Survival of the fittest. You gotta take what you need in this world.
This world is our playground now, and no one's here to stop us. We got out of Rikers jail, and we ain't ever going back in the hole. It's all ours now. We're the new kings of these streets.
These streets must be sanitized. To save our city, we must burn away this disease. Every trace of it, no matter the cost.
Freedom is not a right. Liberty is not a given. This city needs an iron fist to restore order. There shall be no resistance. No matter who stands in our way.
There's always another way. Our mission is to save what remains. To save what's left of our city. We are the Division.
Now, if there's any chance of putting the pieces of our city back together, then this is all up to you. When we first arrived, this place was destroyed. But over time, we can make it our home. From here, we launch countless missions across the city in search of others. Doctors, former cops, engineers, people who can help us rebuild the world. Out there, you'll need all your training and equipment. With every battle won, you'll become stronger. With every challenge met, you will gain power. Other agents have set up safe houses throughout the city. You'll need to team up with them and work together. We have to rely on each other's strengths to save what remains and give New York a fighting chance at something we thought was lost. Hope. You are here for a reason. Make no mistake. We are taking this city back.
What you're looking at is the smallpox virus, one of the deadliest pathogens on the planet. For centuries, it did a wonderful job of helping keep the human population in check. But times change, and sometimes Mother Nature needs a hand in improving her creations. Like, say, speeding them up a little bit, making them contagious when they should be quietly incubating in a host, or making them more lethal. I didn't come up with the approach on my own. My friend Vitaly is one of the pioneers in the field, and the idea has been around for years. Genome as data. You see, once we digitized DNA, we made it infinitely mutable. We could do 1,000 virtual variations in the time it used to take to grow a 1 lab-grade generation of pathogens. And we could pick the best, most lethal combinations and make them real. That's how you make a killer virus, you see. Mix in genetic code from other diseases, and you move the sliders all the way up on lethality and virulence. The goal was a 90% mortality rate. I'm not sure my green poison is going to quite hit that, but honestly, that's just details. As long as most of humanity goes, the Earth stands a fighting chance. Technically, technology is what's killing the planet. But that's not really the case. It's the greed that drives the technology. But a funny thing happened on the way to $100 genome maps and 3D printed plastic toys. someone figured out those technologies could be repurposed, modified for the greater good. Me. Now, my virus is going to do what nature's always done. Decide who lives and who dies. And if nature decides I die, then I die. If nothing else, I'll have a lot of company. Natural selection at its finest, helped along by a little unnatural genetic manipulation. It's all data, really. Life's just a method of processing it. The same way I processed the smallpox genome on my laptop. And who's to say that wasn't the plan all along? If, by some miracle, you survive green poison, then nature's decided you deserve to live. The rest of us shouldn't and won't. Godspeed. I'll see you in hell.
Washington, D.C., the most heavily protected city on Earth.
Within its limits, 177 foreign embassies, 550 elected officials, and 23,000 military personnel. In the event of an attack, critical personnel are evacuated, underground shelters open, while complex defense systems patrol the sky.
But nothing stopped the virus. 27 days after patient zero, Washington fell. It began with riots on K Street, then shootings in the National Mall. Troops withdrew to bunkers. Civilians were left in the streets.
America is on the brink of collapse. But some people have survived. Gardens grow on rooftops, their fences patrolled with rifles, in communities that live under constant siege. Survival has taken the form of urban warfare.
Centuries ago, on this very soil, brother fought brother, spilling blood to forge the United States. History is threatening to repeat itself.
Now, in the heat of summer, 6 months after the outbreak began, a remnant of a corrupt state lurks in the shadows, ready to engage in a new civil war.
Agents of the division are the only ones standing against it.
Keep moving.
I didn't do anything.
Some of you may believe the rules are unfair. That's too bad.
Quiet, you! I said no more talking.
The rules are not subject to negotiation. Shut up! Define the rules, and there will be consequences.
Let's go. Come on. Let's go.
Examples will be made.
On your knees. Keep still.
This have happened here. Of all the capitals, of all the nations on Earth, none more vigilant, safeguarded, prepared. Was it vanity? Bad luck? Or something more sinister? One thing is beyond question. This is where we push back. This is our defining moment. If we fail, our nation falls. We are the free world's last line of defense.
Please, stop it!
I never pictured my first trip to D.C. would be like this. After we survived the initial attack in New York, our capital needed us. But with the country slipping into civil war, who can we trust?
After months of resilience, we have survived the virus outbreak that crippled our country.
Outside those walls, it's perdition. Whatever you're doing out there, we're not feeling it in here.
But the fight to save our nation from total collapse is far from over.
Get down! Everybody, get down!
Ruthless factions threaten to destroy the very fabric of our democracy. Roving packs of hyenas, religious outcasts, and depraved fascists prey on the weak and murder the innocent. For division agents still struggling to hold this country together, it's time we kick our enemies out of their castles. We will not compromise. We will never surrender.
This is our defining moment. Our chance to take back our country. Our chance to shape history.
Terminate any division agents with extreme prejudice.